All right, I will now call this meeting. It is 7 o'clock. Can we all please say the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of
the United States
of
of America
and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation,
God.
under God, indivisible, with liberties and justice for all.
I apologize for that. I got kicked out of the meeting there.
It's okay. You're doing good. Keep going.
We will now hand this meeting over to our lovely president, Miss LaShanne GOINS.
Good evening, everyone. We're glad to have you here on this Martin Luther King holiday. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Just as a reminder, our club mission is that we provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. And our values are integrity, respect, service, and excellence. As we move forward, we would like to acknowledge one of our esteemed guests, our program quality director, Ms. Mallory Williams. If you would, Madam Williams, if you could give us a few thoughts as to what brought you here visiting with us today.
Thank you for the opportunity, LaShanne. Well, I am delighted to be here. And the reason I'm visiting you guys is, one, I know some of your members, and two, I'd like to get to know the club members throughout the district. So I'm on a mission to touch base with everybody so I can understand what you're doing, say hi, get to know you, and that's essentially it. And at the end of this, I'd like to share some announcements with you if I could. Would that be all right? Okay, thank you. Really nice to be here.
Thank you so much, Madam Williams. And we really hope that you get something out of our meeting and you enjoy yourself. We do have a few announcements. We did have a club officers meeting in which roles were changed. Our new Sergeant at Arms is Randy Riddle. We also appointed BEREKET TOLCHA as our secretary. So we just made a few changes there. Lee remains our treasurer as well as our vice president. Well, he is now our vice president of education, given that our vice president of education, although he is still a member, he became inactive. Also, just want to acknowledge and just remind everyone of our pathways. Please, please, please get on. You're giving your speeches, complete your pathways so we can get those numbers up. Also, moving forward, we have a club speech contest. Our humorous speech and our international speech will be held on February 21st. Please be thinking of whether or not you would like to participate in that. We will collect names next week. Why not? Everyone participate, take on the challenge. I know it can be daunting at times, but it's not as daunting as you think it may be. Take on the challenge and give a humorous speech, give an international speech, participate. Okay. Now, moving on
Madam President,
into our meeting, I'm so excited. Yes.
If I may interject while you're talking about contests. We have the humorous speech contest and the international speech contest for this season. To compete in the international speech contest, you must have completed 2 levels in a path. So we have a few new members that haven't completed 2 levels, and that's okay. You're not eligible to compete in the international speech contest unless you've completed at least 2 levels in a path. However, for the humorous speech contest, the only requirement for you as a member is that you be a member in good standing of a club in good standing, which means you've paid your dues and the club has passed those dues on to Toastmasters International. So, and everybody here is in that boat. So any of you are eligible to compete in the humorous speech contest if you'd like. I think the most important thing we need to do is find out who wants to compete. And once we determine who wants to compete in the contest, then we can determine who will serve as contest officials on the 21st. We have a little over a month to put this together, but we need to start now so that we have a nice, smooth flowing contest process. And I'm looking at Mr. Greg Allen, our area director, and since he's not eligible to compete, I'm going to hopefully assume that he will serve as our contest master. He's had some experience at that.
I would be thrilled to serve as contest master, Lee. So I'm looking forward to it. Be my pleasure.
Great, thank you, Greg. We will talk more about this at the end of the meeting. I just wanted to get that out there since LaShane mentioned that we're going to have our contest on the 21st. Madam President.
Thank you so much, Lee, for that information, much needed information. Now we're moving forward, and I would like to present to you our Toastmaster of the day. So excited. He is a somewhat new member, but he has grabbed the bull by the horn and he has taken off, and we're so excited to have him with us today. Andre Tate, take it away.
Thank you, Miss LaShane. Well, our theme for today is MLK had a dream. What is your dream? We know that his dream was to see people of all color treated equally, treated fairly, treated justly. And I believe that his dream is slowly coming to pass. What is your dream? I believe dreams are given to us by God. I had a dream as a young man to do some traveling, and God has opened some doors for me to do some traveling around the world. And dreams are meant to inspire us. Dreams are meant to challenge us. And I believe that most dreams are given to us by God to challenge us to be more than what we are. And I've heard that if you don't have a big dream bigger than you, that you need God to help fulfill, it's not a big enough dream. So I want to challenge each and every one of us to keep dreaming and to keep aspiring for greater things in our lives. And now I want to turn it over to our general evaluator, which is Mr. John Abercrombie.
Thank you, Reverend Tate. Tonight, I have the pleasure of assembling one of the finest evaluation teams on the planet Earth. And as we proceed, we have several roles, and I will talk about them. Now, the general evaluator, in many cases, gives a 30,000 foot view of the meeting. Tonight, I am 1,220,000 feet above the earth. Yes, you're right. You guessed it. I'm aboard the International Space Station, and I'm in my recliner, and I have a nice warm beverage. But from that, I have a unique point of view of the entire meeting, and I will give that towards the close of the meeting. Several roles that will take place, and one is a phenomenal person who has mastered a question that has defied science for years, because he is able to time people between two different time zones. John Frey is in Arkansas. Most of us are in South Carolina. But with the precision that he's been able to develop, he is going to time our meeting, certain roles in the meeting, and I will let John describe his role. John Frey.
Thank you, John. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, fellow guests. Tonight I'll be taking care of our timers report for our 3 different segments, our 3 speakers, our 3 evaluators, and our table topics. 2 out of our 3 speeches are 5 to 7 minutes. I'll show green at 5 minutes, yellow at 6, and red at 7. And we do have a rather long speech one tonight. That's 10 to 15 minutes. I'll do 10. It's 10 minutes, or I'll do green, and it's 12:30. I'll do yellow, and at red, I'll do 15. And our evaluation portion are 2 to 3 minutes. Green at 2, 2:30 is yellow, and at 3 minutes is red. So, and see, one more quick thing. Our table Toastmasters is 1 to 2 minutes. Green is 1, yellow is 1:30, and red is at 2. So I'll be taking care of that and giving a report throughout the meeting. So good luck to everyone tonight. So I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, John Frey from Arkansas. Our next role that we will talk about is an extremely talented, multi-talented individual, and he will do our vote counting. Not only is he proficient in math and English, but he can do math in Spanish, French, other languages, some of which have not even been discovered yet. So we will have Lee Holiday describe his role. Go away, take it away, Lee.
Eins, zwei, drei, vier, fünf. I can do it in German and English, but none of those other languages he talked about. Fellow Toastmasters, I am your vote counter tonight. Since we're on a Zoom meeting, we don't have to coordinate between being in person and on Zoom, which makes this role just a little bit easier. Everyone will send me a chat message, a private chat message to me when we get to the end of the speaker session. You vote for best speaker. When we get to the end of the table topic session, you vote for best table topics. And when you get to the end of the evaluation session, you will vote for best evaluator. Once again, a private chat message to me telling me who you vote for best in each category. I will count eins, zwei, drei to figure out who won and report those when called upon to do so by the leader of the meeting. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Mr. Holliday, for an excellent explanation of what's going on. We also have another role that, fortunately or unfortunately, is filled by John McKinney. As most of you know, we're approaching Black History Month, and it is very appropriate because I believe it was in 1938, we had one contestant that had not missed a word. That person happened to be of African ancestry and had not missed one of the 100,000 words that the students are given to study. However, she was disqualified because of a word that was given to her that was not on the list. That happens to be John McKinney's favorite word, nemesis. A man so skilled and so knowledgeable about words, the roots, the meanings, the usage, we will have John McKinney describe his role. John McKinney, describe your role, sir.
I would have thought I would have been giving a great introduction, just like he did with John Frey and Lee Holiday. As you can see, the love between John Abercrombie and myself. And of course, I am the grammarian. And the word of the day is sanguine. And I got to pull it up real fast. Give me a second. I'll tell you exactly what it means. Okay, I forgot to write it down, and forgive me for not doing so. And it means
confidentially optimistic.
There you go. Thank you so much, Mr. Holiday. Marked by eager hopefulness, confidently optimistic. I will be listening out for how many times this word will be used. I will also be listening out for any us, so's, you knows, buts. I use you knows a lot in just regular conversation. And if anyone that speaks fluent Ebonics like I do myself sometimes, I'll also be listening out for that and other crutch words. And I'll also may listen up, I'll be listening for like maybe a good catchy phrase that someone has used during their speech. I look to, hopefully we won't be having a real bad time using improper grammar, but I do hope that we have a great time on tonight's meeting. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, sir. I have a sanguine hope that we will have an excellent meeting, that our team members will perform to the highest standards possible. And without delay, I turn this back over to our Toastmaster of the day, Reverend Tate.
You're muted, Andre.
Thank you, Mr. John. And I will get ready to introduce our first speaker of tonight. He will be answering the age-old question, who do we want to be when we grow up? For the next 5 to 7 minutes, the next speaker will take us on a journey and an adventure to answer this age-old question. Give it up for this young man, Mr. Randy Riddle.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters, Madam PQD, I would like to start with the question, who do you want to be when you grow up? Now, some may say, but I'm already whatever age, whether that be 30, 40, or higher. But my response to that is you will have grown an extra year the next time your birthday comes around. So all of us can continue to ask ourselves the question of, who do we want to be when we grow up? Now, if you will, I'd like to take all of you on an adventure throughout my childhood and life up until now, so that I can explain to you how I came about to decide who I wanted to be when I grew up. As a child, I watched movies and shows like Spider-Man and Star Wars, SpongeBob even, and naturally, I wanted to be able to climb walls and shoot webs and even move things with my mind, just like any other kid wants to do when they see things like that. Teenager Randy, if we fast forward a bit, for a majority of that time period, had no clue what he wanted to do with his life or future career. So we'll jump ahead to whenever I finally started to grasp some idea of what I wanted to be. Now, I bounced around between being an actor or a comedian inspired by Robin Williams and Johnny Depp for Jack Sparrow. And I started to pick up, due to having little brothers and sisters that loved Disney movies, I started to pick up voices like Stitch, Mickey Mouse, and even Elmo. I know he's not a Disney character, but Sesame Street was a favorite in our house. So I bounced around from voice actor to comedian, and eventually settled on all of that is encompassed in being a public speaker. So I have now come to the conclusion that I would like to be a public speaker for my professional career and incorporate things like comedy and voices and whatever other things that I can throw in there in order to keep the audience engaged and even spread some joy with any speech that I may be able to give. As we go through this adventure, one thing that pops up is where does the inspiration come from for all these things? I mentioned as a child, I was inspired to climb walls, and things like Spider-Man from the movies and Star Wars. And I mentioned Robin Williams was one of the inspirations for being a comedian or voice actor. My little brothers and sisters for the voices, like Stitch's favorite, I believe everyone knows the line for Stitch of "My family is little and broken, but still good. Yeah, still good." Or my favorite pastime was walking through the high school hallways and coming up behind one of my friends when they least expected it, and coming up beside them and saying, "Elmer loves you," and then walking away. And they have no clue who or what just popped by to drop that piece of creativity on them. A good many people loved to ask me to do different voices, and even asked me to pick up the Minions when Despicable Me came out. And everyone's going through and they're like, "Do the Minion voice." I still get that at church. The kids come up to me and they say, "Do the Minion voice, do the Minion voice." And the only thing I know to do from that is when they start running through the hallways as a firefighter going, "Bidar, bidar, bidar," and they're squirting water everywhere, getting on everyone's nerves, spraying water on all over the computers. I would say that one of my favorites that I've picked up recently is Yoda from Star Wars. I've always been a huge Star Wars fan. That's never left. So I started to go back and watch the movies. And one of my favorite lines from Yoda is when he's having a conversation with Anakin. And if anyone has seen those movies, then you'll know that Anakin at some point decides that he wants vengeance for things that have occurred in his lifetime. And he comes to Yoda to talk about it. Yoda says, "You must teach yourself to let go of everything you fear to lose." And you wonder, why did he say that? Well, it comes down to fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. All of these things encompassed around to, I want to travel and be able to see new people, meet new faces like everyone here who I've been blessed to be able to meet and see. And I want to spread joy with the voices and comedies and things from what I've picked up over the years. So for me, the answer to that question is I want to be a public speaker when I grow up. And I hope to be as good of a speaker as many of you here in this very meeting. And with that, I would like to hand this meeting back over to our wonderful Toastmaster of the day, Mr. Tate.
Thank you, Mr. Randy Riddle. Great, great job. Great job. Man, ever since I've heard you start speaking, you've always done a great job. And you inspire me, young man. You really do. Well, now I will ask our timer to give us 1 minute so we can send in our comments. What you doing?
Just as a reminder, as you're preparing your comments, put them in the chat and send it as a private message to Randy Riddle. Thank you.
1 minute, it's up. And
Go ahead, Andre, introduce your next speaker.
All right, our next speaker is no other than Mr. BEREKET TOLCHA. I'm finally learning to say his last name. But Mr. TOLCHA will be doing a role play assignment project designed to help him manage difficult audiences. He will have 5 to 7 minutes for his speech. Before the assignment, there were given 4 people who were going to be his who are going to disrupt his speech. And again, the speech is really not being evaluated. It's just going to be how he handled the disruptions. So he is going to have 10 to 15 minutes. And the title of his speech, Lies We Are Used To. I introduce to you BEREKET TOLCHA.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. You said it well. My last name. Fellow Toastmasters and our esteemed guest, Madam PQD. Nice to meet you. I think I met you in Gmail, I guess. Okay, today I would like to talk to you about a book that I'm still reading. I'm about halfway. It's The One Thing by Kaylor Papasan. It talks about the main concept. I can't say the major objective of the book because I'm still halfway there. I haven't finished it, but it looks like the main concept of this book is to show us the one thing in life and to identify the one thing in life that we can do such that if we do that one thing, everything else will be easier or maybe unnecessary. So in this process, what Mr. Papasan is doing is first, sorry, now I got confused if it's a Mr. or Mrs. Anyway, but in this book, he's trying to walk us through how to find our one thing. So in that, the first part of the book is showing us the common lies that we are familiar with.
You know,
And the
BEREKET,
second part-
I'm pretty interested in what you're talking about there, because I really believe that, yes, all of us have a ultimate purpose in our life. We all have something that we want to accomplish in life and that our life is really all about. And what we really ought to do is keep the main thing, the main thing. Don't you think so? I mean, really, everybody needs to focus on what their eternal destiny is to carry them toward. Don't you agree, sir? I mean, that's what it's all about, right?
Of course.
I think so.
Okay, thank you, Lee, for that comment. Yes, in some of it, I agree with you. But if you don't mind, we'll have a session at the end of the speech. So I will accept questions and I'll try my best to answer. And also for everyone if you have any questions, please hold them and we can discuss, or you will raise them at the end of the meeting.
Why do we have to wait till the end of the meeting?
In just a few
I wanna know
minutes.
now.
We'll get there in just a few minutes.
How many? I mean, I have a really important question to ask. And I'm gonna have to wait, how long? 8 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever? Huh? Seriously?
Probably less than 10 minutes, but I'll make
All
sure.
right, I'm gonna time you. I'm gonna time you. I'm not going 1 second past 10 minutes.
Okay, I'll make sure that your question or your concern is addressed at the end. Okay. So in this book, before I started discussing about the lies that we are used to, there is one interesting fact in the book, which tells us, or the author called it a domino effect. What is it like, if you have a 2-inch tall, a very small 2-inch tall domino and lined up in a specific manner, usually one domino.
Yeah, I'm sorry, BEREKET, but what does that really have to do with our purpose in life? I don't get it. But, you know, I don't think we tell ourselves lies. I think we just go through our day to day, just, you know, figuring out life the best we can. I'm not sure I can agree with what you're having to say tonight. So
Okay. I appreciate you coming up, Greg, but I'll make sure to link it, and hopefully you will see it. If it's not clear, I'll make sure I address your concern as well at the end, but hopefully it will line up.
You know
What
what, Lee?
domino
I
effect-
wonder about this book called The One Thing. What exactly is the one thing? I'm hearing about the domino effect. I'm hearing about purpose. I'm hearing about all these different things, but it hasn't got down to the one thing. Lee, help me understand what this one thing is.
Okay, John. Actually, the book has explained or has some explanation on identifying the one thing. So hang on, I'll get there. So the domino effect, the interesting fact is one domino, if it's lined correctly, it will hit and let down, or hit and the next domino will fall down 50% higher than its size, which means if I have a 2-inch tall domino fall into 3-inch domino, then the 3-inch domino will fall down. What it means is,
Now, how do you know that?
put it in a
I only read half the book.
sorry, can you say that again?
You read half the book.
Sorry, can you say that again?
You've only read half the book. How do you know that something doesn't happen in the next half?
This is an interesting question, actually. I'm getting there. So if we align dominoes, the first domino being 2-inch tall, at the 31st domino, it will hit and let down Mount Everest. What it tells us is how drastically it cascades. So if you focus on your 2-inch tall domino question and make sure that all your upcoming dominoes are aligned properly, at the 31st point, you will be able to handle or punch down a Mount Everest size of task. So with this, let's move on to our common lies. And I'm not discussing all of them, just a few. The first one is, we all think, or most of us think, everything matters equally, which is wrong. Of course, everything matters. I'm not saying nothing is, or there is something that doesn't matter. I don't agree. I understand, or I agree that everything matters, but not equally. So that is the first lie that most of us are used to or thought. So the first thing is everything matters equally is a lie. The second one is multitasking. There is a common understanding or consensus that multitasking, people with a skill of, I don't think if there is a skill really, but a skill with multitasking will perform better, will achieve more. But that is one common lie that we are accustomed to. Multitasking basically comes from a IT word. Computer is basically multitasking. What it means is it can do multiple things at once, but not parallelly, by switching tasks. Okay, so a human can do that as well. We can switch tasks, but what it does to us is whenever we switch a task, we are refocusing. We are trying to refocus to the next task and the next task. So we are wasting too much time in between. So multitasking is a common lie. And the other one, last one, a disciplined life. We all think there is a disciplined life. And some of us are striving to achieve that. But basically, the book says, and I agree, based on the explanations, there is no disciplined life. Of course, there is a discipline that we have to follow, but on certain areas. For example, if I am a swimmer, I have to be disciplined on some tasks. I don't have to have, like, there is no disciplined life. I can't have a disciplined life on every matter, right? That will complicate my life and actually make it impossible to handle, or it will create too much stress on me to discipline everything in my life. So it won't work. So this is also another common lie that we are accustomed to. So after explaining these lies, the book goes to what is the question then that we have to focus on? What is our 2-inch tall domino that we have to focus on? Okay. So the suggested question is, ask yourself this question. What is the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else gets easier or maybe unnecessary? And it doesn't have to be in a single topic. It can apply to our spiritual life. It can apply to our relationships, marriages, boyfriend, girlfriend relationships, any type of relationship. What can I do? What is the one thing I can do that if I do that, it will make everything else easier or unnecessary? It can also apply to our financial life and our job too. We have a lot of to-do lists every morning, right? But you know the Pareto principle, right? 80-20. So 20% of our task brings 80% of the result. So what is the one thing I can do today that will make everything else easier or maybe unnecessary? Or even if I am unable to do the rest, still I will shine and I will be the champion. It's not easy to get to that question. And I'm still halfway through the book, so I don't really know exactly how to formulate that question in our lives. Hopefully that will be for our next speech. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Now, if I can I get my timer to give us 1 minute as we all send in our comments to Mr. TOLCHA. Great job, my friend. Great job. One minute is up. Now, I will get ready to introduce our next speaker, our third speaker. He will be talking about his experience as a mentee, and he is going to talk about his experience as a mentee through his experience from his experience through mentorship and his point of view, and he's going to share his testimony on that. And his name is Alexander DAHLSTROM. So let's give it up for Alexander. Alex.
Well, thank you, Andre, and hello, friends. Good to see you guys virtually tonight. Happy Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. I prayed for a white Christmas, but we ended up getting a white MLK Jr. holiday. So thank God for snow. But anyway, today I'm talking about something that's very near and dear to my heart, which is leadership through mentorship. For me, of course, being 27, I've been a student for most of my life. Been in the working world for 4 years, running my financial practice. And really, when we're talking about leadership and mentoring, really the best place I feel like for me to start is my experience as a mentee, going through the 3 main factors that have led to my mentors being some of the very best possible. And of course, for me, I've been super blessed, unlike Aaron Rodgers having Brett Favre going ahead of him and bullying him. I had some really great people in my life, whether we were talking about my school, my running, my Christian fraternity, and finally my job, that really helped me rise to the ranks and do well and serve people, or at least I hope so at this point. I've still got a lot of time to grow and or mess that up. So the first principle that I've found is an absolute must with a good mentor is there has to be credibility established. So here's the thing, when you have a mentor-mentee relationship, it's all about really being a mentee. You have to look up to that person. Otherwise, you're going to feel like the mentor is more of a bully than anything, that you just have to listen to him, much like how Brett Favre was to Aaron Rodgers, which is why they still kind of have a bad relationship to this day, more or less. I mean, they've, cleared it up. But anyway, for me, my mentor at Northwestern, he immediately established credibility with me, showing me not just his accolades, but I watched him at work doing great work by his clients, serving them at the highest level. And a lot of my team captains when I was running track and cross country. Yeah, it's pretty easy looking at the stopwatch, but then seeing them out there blowing me away on the track, that's a pretty quick and easy way to establish credibility. And whenever they gave me, credit, like tips on my running, including my coaches in high school, they had the track record saying, hey, we're going to get you where you need to be because we've done it many times before. And that's, of course, very, very important when you are at first step in being a mentee, is you have to look up to somebody. Next thing that's super important is communication. I always talk about communication as being one of the foundational principles of any good relationship. So of course it's here in a mentor-mentee relationship. So when we're talking about communication, there are different styles. I think I did a speech on it a few weeks back, but some people like stuff to be sugar-coated. Some people are very blunt. It's like they're from Chicago or something. Some people are very, wishy-washy, or they're hot and cold. And with my mentors, for example, they recognize with me right away that my head's as thick and as hard as a rock. Like, you have to absolutely crack me with a sledgehammer in the first 5 minutes. Otherwise, I'm probably not going to listen to you. That's basically what every test that I've ever taken has said about my learning skills. So with me, actually, one of my mentor, Tony, for example, I was telling him one time, man, you need to tell me this stuff straight up. And it was almost like that movie, I forget, with Jack Nicholson and Tom Cruise in the court. It was like, you can't handle the truth, Alex. I'm like, yes, I can. The truth is what I need to make in this business. So you got to help me. And from then on, we've been best friends ever since. And that's also been the case with my track coaches. They were like, hey, you need to do this to get to be the best. And I was like, yes, sir, I'll do the mileage. So then the third and most important thing when we're talking about a coaching / mentoring relationship is trust. Not only should I be looking up to somebody, but then also having good communication with them, but I've got to trust them. I have to know that they care about me and they are working in my best interest. And with everybody that has poured into me, they have all communicated that. And that's why they are still really good friends of mine to this day. So like with Coach Sally, for example, one of my track coaches, I came to him when I was in 9th grade and I had the lung condition. And a lot of people just thought I got fat and lazy because I was now a football player mostly. But he listened to my story and he believed me, and he said, Alex, I'm going to get you back to where you were in 8th grade before you had the lung thing. And he said, and I was like, hey, do you really? And he's like, yes. And I was with him basically to the ends of the earth and got us those 5 state championships. And with Tony, when I was in a really low time in my business, he said, I'm here for you, buddy. You're like a brother to me. And I was like, you mean that? And he was like, yes. And here we are 4 years later. So really, when we're talking about a mentor-mentee relationship, for someone that has never been in leadership or has never, been in one of these things where you have people look up to you, or you're just young like I am, one of the first ways that I've learned how to be a leader as I'm starting to grow and step into these big shoes that these folks that came before me left has been just learning from my experiences and being able to take that with me so I can serve the common good of helping people to their goals and dreams and making this world a better place. So really, that's all I have for today. Thank you guys for listening, and God bless. Back to you, Andre.
Great job, Alex. I've always heard that to be a great leader, you first have to be a good follower. And you seem to have followed well, and I know you're going to be a great leader. We need 1 minute, Mr. Timekeeper, so we can all send in our comments. Okay. Now, I need to get Mr. John Frey to give us each person's timing report.
Thank you. Randy spoke for 6 minutes and 27 seconds. BEREKET spoke for 13 minutes and 29 seconds. And Alex spoke for 6 minutes and 18 seconds. So everybody made their time. I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, thank you, John. And now I will turn the meeting over to our table topic master.
Thank you so much. And at this time, please send in your votes for best speaker. I believe that goes to Mr. Lee Holiday. All right. It is that time, table topics. Fellow Toastmasters and to our esteemed guest, Madam PQD. I would like to tell you, this weekend was a fabulous weekend. We had our winter TLI conference and it was awesome. I am so excited to announce that every officer attended. If you missed it as a member, you missed the treat. We take pride in our participation. Yeah, give yourselves a hand for participating this weekend. We had a fabulous keynote speaker. One point that he talked about was the cow versus the bison. I can admit I've never heard that before. And what he said was that the bison faces the storm while the cow runs from the storm. The purpose of the bison facing the storm is to get through it, while the cow is always chased by the storm. What does this mean to you? Greg.
Madam President, could you repeat that question one more time?
I am sorry, I bet you're preparing for that speech, aren't you? The speaker made a very good point about the cow versus the bison. And what he said was the bison makes the decision to go through the storm because they know that on the other side, the storm will eventually come to an end, while the cow runs away from the storm and is always being chased by the storm. What does that mean to you?
Well, to conduct yourself like the bison, to me simply means you've got to face your fear. if there is something that you're wanting to accomplish in your life, but you're afraid to take that step or go out on that limb where you've never been before, if you can't face the fear and push through it, then the storm, like the cow, is always going to chase you. You're never going to get to the other side of the fence to find out whether you fail or succeed. So you can't let fear stop you. You just got to be like the bull or the bison, punch your way through that fence, keep on going through the storm. I can tell you from experience, generally, once you get through the storm, it's pretty calm on the other side. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you so much. Our next question. In what ways do you find yourself inspiring others? John McKinney.
Could you repeat that question again?
Yes, we know that this is MLK Day and he inspired many millions, even to this day. In what ways do you find yourself inspiring others?
Well, it's funny that you asked me that question. On November 6, 2020 at 1:28 p.m., I was at work talking to a customer and I received a message, a Facebook message. And it goes like this. Hi, John. I don't know if you know this, but Thomas passed away today. The Thomas person was my best friend. Okay. And we were best friends for 25 years. The godfather of my children. This guy was a rare breed of an individual. This man gave his life over to Christ at 10 years old. He was a huge influence on my life. When I got word he passed away, I felt like a part of me was gone, a void was gone. But one thing that stood out to me in his death, the man didn't have a voice. When his wife left him, he bottled everything in. He suffered depression. He suffered the anguish and the anger and all of that, and never had a chance to really use his voice to talk about his hurt, to talk about his pain, to talk about his sadness. He didn't get to do any of that. What came out of that for me, as a result, I am starting a men's ministry to help hurting men to find their voice. And that's what I'm going to do to inspire others, especially other men. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much for that response and sharing with us today. And our final question of the day, what impact do you want to leave on the world? Madam PQD.
That is such a great question, and thank you for that question. You know, there's a verse in the Bible that talks about iron sharpening iron. Well, one of my goals is to live the way that I live, that people are inspired enough to do something at the next level of their own development. When I tackle any project, any task, BEREKET, I don't split my focus. I don't multitask. I just focus. And what happens on the other side of that event or that task is something that is inspiring enough so that when somebody tackles their task, they're like, I want to do it just as well. So to answer your question, which I forgot, I want to sharpen others and I want to be sharpened by others. So I make sure and surround myself with people who are looking to lead their best lives in a very positive way. And the word of the day was, I forgot now, sanguine. I hope to do it in a sanguine manner. Back to you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you so much. And yes, you did that in a sanguine manner. And you answered the question. Iron sharpens iron. Yes, we need people like you to help sharpen my skills. So we appreciate you, and we even appreciate you attending tonight. At this time, may we get a timers report?
Yes, ma'am. Greg spoke for 1 minute right on the dot. Mr. John McKinney spoke for 1 minute and 40 seconds. Miss Mallory spoke for 1 minute and 11 seconds. I'll turn it back over to you, LaShane.
Thank you so much. And at this time, please send your votes to Mr. Lee Holiday. And as you are doing this, I will turn control of the meeting to Mr. John Abercrombie.
Thank you, Madam President. Tonight, let's see, wait a minute, I'm missing something here. Oh, our evaluators. We have an excellent team of evaluators that have been listening attentively at our speakers and are going to give us a sanguine report on the outstanding things that these speakers have done. The first one is a master of cryptocurrency known worldwide, none other than Mr. Greg Allen. Let's welcome Greg, and he'll evaluate speech number 1.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. Welcome, Toastmasters, and especially our esteemed guest, Ms. Williams. And of course, Randy Riddle, who unfortunately does not have his camera on right now. But nonetheless, Randy, I thought that was a great speech. What I saw was a lot of laughter from the audience. So I could see that you were really connecting with your audience. They were laughing, they were smiling, some were nodding their heads in agreement with you. I think that is certainly a strong plus, especially when you're aspiring to be a motivational speaker professionally. Certainly want to be able to connect with your audience. I also heard no crutch words. Unless I was just so caught up in your speech that I wasn't aware of them, I did not hear a single so, and, you know, whatever. So great job with that. That's an excellent job to be able to be a new member in the club, just starting out. I think maybe this is your 3rd or 4th speech, so you're doing an awesome job in really focusing on not using those catchwords. Another thing I noticed was it appeared that maybe you were reading part of your speech. And I think that's okay to have notes, to glance at your notes occasionally, to make sure that you are hitting the points you want to hit in your speech, that you're going in a you know, a set manner of how you want your speech to flow. And maybe it was just the lighting and your glasses, I don't know, but it just appeared that maybe you were reading. You did ask me to pay attention to your camera movement. I assume what you meant is that you're holding your cell phone while you were speaking. And so maybe that's why we didn't see any hand gestures. And so I understand that. I understand maybe you couldn't really use gestures. But what I think you could have done when you were giving us the impressions of these characters like Shrek and the Minions, and I can't remember who else you mentioned because I don't know all those characters. Maybe if you could have made a funny face, like, you know, when you make a face, like, I don't know, something just to kind of go on along with that impression would have been good. Other than that, again, the speech flowed well. You were very articulate, very clear. I guess what I would suggest is maybe stand up if you can. I know that would be really hard if you're trying to hold your cell phone. But Randy, great job. Keep up the good work. Look forward to hearing more from you. back to our general evaluator. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Very focused on the speaker, gave very good comments. As we move to our second evaluator, we have a highly respected professional evaluator and speech teacher, in none other than our valued club member, Miss Cheryl Ledford. I kept getting Ledford and Lefford kind of confused on Saturday and was thinking, well, no. Then I found out that if I looked at the spelling, I would know the difference. With that being said, we have our second evaluator, Professor Ledford. Cheryl, take it away.
Good evening. Thank you so much, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, our guest, and BEREKET. What a great job, BEREKET. Okay. Not only are you still learning and navigating our crazy English language, but tonight, your speech, again, you were required to deal with interruptions. And I was laughing so hard that I was trying to maintain control. I don't know how you were able to keep going, but this is what I noticed. You did a great job at, I said you were kind to each person, which is, again, very important. Mentioning their name, example, right? Lee was the first one to interrupt you and ask a question. And you acknowledged him, said, well, that's a great question, Lee. And you were kind, you maintained control of yourself. It didn't seem to fluster you too much. And you kept going. That's the key, is to keep going. You stayed focused and you listened to their comments, which I thought was really good. Now, John Abercrombie, when you interrupted him, I was laughing so hard. And this is BEREKET. This was hard to evaluate for me because I'm used to evaluating the speech and not the interruption. So I'm trying my best. When John Abercrombie interrupted you and he asked for a specific time, I felt that was an area where you could have improved a little bit, was because he was saying, well, how long do I have to wait? 5 minutes, 10 minutes? And I'm used to that as a teacher. So if you could have maybe more given him, like, John, that is such a great question. And I have something that if you can just give me 5 more minutes, I have something to say that is going to impact you personally and going to help you. So let me continue and then get going faster. So that was a couple of areas that I noticed is when you're being interrupted, acknowledge it like you did. You did a great job with that. Be kind. But then give them something. And that's when the conference that we went to this weekend, the speaker that I heard, he said, help each person to feel like they have something personal to gain. So that would be my recommendation, is to say, Lee, thank you for that question, and I'm going to address it, and I'm going to have you, give you great advice to take away from this speech. But great job, BEREKET, and I wish you all the best. So thank you very much, and take it away, John Abercrombie.
Thank you, Professor Ledford. As we continue the spot-on evaluations of our speakers, we come to a person that we have not seen tonight, but we know is there. Sounds like a law firm of Tate and Tate. At this point, our third evaluator is none other than the better half of the Tate family, Jamil Tate. Go ahead, Jamil.
Thank you, John. So, Alex, I think you did a good job on your speech, and you used, your eye contact was good. You used good gestures, and you made your three points, and you talked about the credibility with your that you established with the people at Northwestern, how you have to be able to look up to them. And when you talked about communication, you really gave very good description about how you've been hard to crack, and how you just went through all that motion, and I thought that was great. And then just learning to trust the person that you're working with. So I thought your speech was well put together, well, and you did a great job. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Mrs. Tate. And at this point, I guess I give my general evaluation, if that's right. I don't have the agenda immediately before me. Lee? Nobody has any objection. I'll go ahead with that. I am very, very surprised that nobody called me on the accuracy of my measurements. As I said, that I was 2,220,000 feet above the earth. And
John,
yes.
Let me interrupt. I'm sorry. I was having trouble getting myself off of mute. Why don't you get your grammarian's report and then a timer's report before you give your general evaluator's report?
Okay. Can we have our timer's report?
Yes, sir. Greg Allen spoke for 3 minutes and 12 seconds. Cheryl Lefford spoke for 3 minutes and 16 seconds. And Ms. Tate spoke for 53 seconds. I'll turn it back over to you, John.
Thank you, sir. And now we have none other than the greatest word master in the world, Mr. John McKinney.
John Abercrombie, that was the nicest thing I ever heard you say about me. I really appreciate that introduction.
Remember it, because it ain't gonna happen again.
Okay. Okay. All right, now for the grammarian's report. The word sanguine was used 4 times by one person. That's no other than Miss PQD, Miss Williams. Great job on using the word of the day. I didn't hear anyone else use the word. Each one of you guys had one job as you speak, and that's to use the word of the day, sanguine. But did I hear from anyone of our members? No, I heard it from my guest. Thank you so much, Ms. Williams. Well, LaShane's doing this, so I give her credit too, I guess. I'm just kidding, you guys. I've heard the word 10 times, the word 1 time, 16 times, 1 8 so's, 3 buts, 5 okays. Randy used the word encompass, and he used there's one phrase, I want to spread joy, which was, I love that, I want to spread joy. I think that's what all of us wants to do. However, I heard him say one thing in his speech when he was ending it, he says, and with that. I've used it a lot myself. That's how I was able to catch it. Outside of that, it wasn't too bad, but of course it could be better. We can improve on our how we use our crutch words and using our word of the day. We're here to improve our vocabulary. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, sir. Now we go into our general evaluation. And again, I'm surprised that somebody didn't call me, because as we talked about being 1,220,000 feet above the earth, nobody remembered to subtract 850, which is the elevation of Spartanburg above sea level. But anyway, that being said, we're getting down to some of the minutiae. In all of my 28,204 days here on Earth, have been impressed with the fact that we start our meetings on time. I believe the National Bureau of Standards consults their clock by our Sergeant at Arms in getting the meetings started. Very good job, very good legacy left and started by LaShane, and we do an excellent job there. But being on time and running a smooth meeting is more than that. It encompasses the members being prepared on time, giving speeches that are timely, and all of the roles being filled on a timely manner. So I think from that standpoint, we did a very good job. I think all of our evaluators were focused on the speaker, gave relevant and important information back to them. The one thing that I would call attention to is the fact that when we are on a virtual call, we each are focused on individually. So things such as chewing gum, having difficulty reading, we may want to take whatever steps are necessary there so that we're not overly exaggerating our facial features and what have you. Sometimes the gum appears to be a sign of boredom or whatever. That's just my take on it, but we need to be aware of those attributes. So I think that overall we had a very good meeting. We're running well within our time limits. We do have a distinguished guest that's going to get a chance to speak, and one that came in prepared and was able to participate in our table topics, which is something that is great, because one of the things that happens in table topics is so many times we are placed on the spot, not having the foggiest idea that we are going to be called upon. So that is a caveat to all of the Toastmasters, to be prepared in every situation and know how to handle yourself. And I think that went very well. Overall, I think our meeting went very well. And with that, I will turn it back over to control of the meeting, back over to our Toastmaster of the day, Reverend Tate. Reverend Tate.
Thank you again, Mr. John Abercrombie. Well, I think the meeting has been well tonight, and with our theme of having a dream, and I believe that every person on this line will one day see their dreams and their desires come to pass. Now, want to get some information from our vote counter to see who will receive our rewards for tonight.
Mr. Toastmaster, it is my pleasure to give you the accolades that you have voted to award tonight. For our best evaluator, how about a round of applause for Mr. Greg Allen? Proud of you, Greg. Good job. Your fellow members thought highly of you. So great job with that. Great. For our best table topics, it was overwhelmingly in favor of Mallory Williams. And for our best speaker tonight, all of our speakers received votes, but the one that edged out the other two was Mr. Alex DAHLSTROM. Mr. Toastmaster.
Well, with our distinguished guest with us tonight. I want to ask her, does she have any last minute comments?
I do. First of all, I am so happy to be here and I feel really privileged to be visiting tonight because you all not only made me feel warm and welcome, but you ran such an exemplary meeting. And I know from the past that you are an exemplary club. You do everything at the highest level. You have high membership. You meet your distinguished club program goals really well. You had 7 officers trained last term. You have 7 officers. You will have 7 officers trained this term. So kudos to you all for doing such an amazing job. I would love to talk you up to other clubs that are struggling with what quality club meetings look like. So maybe they can visit and get some ideas or get some energy. So kudos to you guys. Do I have time to make a couple of announcements? I do?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So I'm glad we came off of a wonderful weekend of TLI, Club Officer Training, Toastmasters Leadership Institute. We are in the midst of planning for a conference, April 29th through May 1st. If you'd like to participate as a volunteer, just send me a note. Talk to anybody in the club that knows me well, Greg Allen, who's also an area director. Talk to Lee, talk to many of you that I know. So talk to your area director as well and just let me know. Greg, I'll circle back with you later. We always need a lot of people to do these events well, so keep that in mind. We do have a number of incentives for you all. One is, of course, to get 7 out of 7 club officers trained. You're well on your way to getting that, and congratulations for winning the awards last term for doing exactly that. Your membership is up, so no issues there. I know you will make it strong. You'll finish strong. What I'd like to encourage you to do is to keep building the members so that you continue to be example to others. And once we bring people to visit, I hope you allow me to bring people to visit, they can hear from you how you're doing this thing called membership so well. And last but not least, let me see if there's anything here. We will have a contest training. We were going to have it this Thursday, but we'll have to postpone it to next Wednesday because the person who's leading it, Douglas Wilson, DTM and past district governor, needs a little bit more time. So I will publicize that, but just keep in mind, it's a contest training for judges, contestants, and so on. And with that, I hand control back to you, Reverend Tate.
Well, thank you for your announcements. And if there are no other announcements, we will adjourn this meeting.
Andre, I have a couple of announcements, please. Thank you. So I'm going to share my screen with you just to share a couple of items with all of you. First of all, next week, Bernie Holiday is scheduled to be our Toastmaster of the day. For all of you members, please, as we usually do, go in and click confirm on the online agenda to indicate that you will fill your meeting role. And speakers, be sure to enter your speech title and speaker introduction on the online agenda. As was announced earlier, Monday, February 21st will be our club level humorous speech and international speech contest. We need to hear from you sooner rather than later if you are going to compete. And if you do not wish to participate as a contestant, which is fine, then we will expect you to serve as an official in the contest. One of the things that we try to do is keep you apprised of your meeting roles for future meetings. So for our meeting next week, hopefully you can see on the screen that, as I indicated before, Bernie will be our Toastmaster of the day. Andre will be our General Evaluator. Alex will be timer. Cheryl Ledford will be our vote counter. Our speakers will be Greg Allen, John Frey, and LaShane Goins. Table topics will be Mr. John McKinney. The evaluators will be BEREKET, Randy, and Jamil. One of the things I want to share with you, I created several agendas in advance, as you can see on the screen. Right now, we have 13 active members. We have 9 members who are inactive. We have 13 of us who are active, and all but one of those 13 is here tonight. The reason that's important to know is because we have 12 meeting roles. So we need everybody to be at every meeting and to fill your meeting role, because if anybody drops out, that means we're either going to go without a meeting role being filled, or somebody's going to have to double up to fill their role. So let me just encourage you to plan in advance to make sure every Monday night at 6:45 p.m. you're going to be here, hopefully in person. But John Frey, we know it's a little bit far to drive, so it's fine if you join us on Zoom. And as some of you may know, BEREKET is moving off to Pennsylvania or somewhere, but he has decided he is going to continue his membership in Spartanburg Toastmasters Club and join us on Zoom, just like John Frey's been doing. We're setting the bar for having the largest membership from different places all over the United States and maybe all over the world before we finish with this. But if they can join from wherever they are, we can all get here somehow, if not in person, then on Zoom. One last thing I'd like to share with you all. I'm going to bring up the agenda just so you know for our contest. Let me get to that agenda real quick and I'll show you what I mean. So the contest is going to be on the 21st. But in the notes of that agenda, I have put in here places to put in speech contestants' name for humorous speech and international speech. And we don't have to have 4, we don't have to have just 4. Ever how many people want to compete, as long as you're eligible on international speech, that means you've completed 2 levels in your path, then you can compete and the slate is open. But for everybody who is not going to be a contestant, we know now that our contest master will be Greg Allen, and we will need to find members who will be the chief judge and the sergeant at arms and timers and ballot counters and judges. We'll try to keep the judges' names confidential. That's the way it's supposed to work. We will probably have our contest by hybrid. That is, if you're there at the meeting place, you will be in person, but if you're not, you can participate via Zoom. My understanding, and perhaps Mallory can speak to this, I believe all the contests above the club level must be completely virtual. Is that correct, Mallory?
They will be virtual, yes.
Yes.
Yes, Lee.
So the area level, the division level, and then the district level contest will all be done via Zoom, virtually, will not be in person. But our contest will likely be hybrid unless the club officers get together and say, okay, since everything else is going to be virtual, maybe we do that virtual. But I just hate not to get together in person. We're having this week not in person, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But these are the roles we need to fill. So be thinking about, if you don't want to be a contestant for whatever reason, which of these other roles could you help us out with? If you don't call me, I'll call you. We need you there. That is all my announcements at this time. Mr. Tate, you have done an incredible job tonight. For a brand new member, for the first time serving as Toastmaster today, let's all give a big round of applause for Andre Tate.
Thank you, Lee. You are such an encourager and you're such a great mentor. With that being said, if there's no other announcements, no other comments, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you,
Good night,
Mallory.
everyone.
Everybody have a blessed week.
Thank you
Have a
all.
blessed
Bye,
evening, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank
Mallory.
you,
for
everybody.
everybody.
It was really nice
Great
being
job,
here.
everyone.
Great job. Bye-bye.